Hello ladies and gents, I am Citizen Sleeve and welcome to Replayed Reviews, a little series I do where I take games from yesteryear and re-review them in a nice short format with a little bit of the game's intro footage. Now, if you've got any suggestions for games of yesteryear that you would like me to cover in the series, by all means, chug them in the comments. And this time, the original Forza Horizon by Playground Games. Let's crack on, shall we? Now let me admit before I begin this review properly that I'm not exactly a realistic racing game fan. I have dabbled in previous Forzas and subsequent Forzas, so I've played plenty up to 7 and I played most of the Horizons beyond this iteration, the original. And of course Project Gotham, which kind of laid the blueprint for a lot of what we saw in Forza. But I'm really an arcade racer at heart. Burnout 2 Points of Impact is still one of the finest arcade racers I've ever played, and Atari's original Test Drive Unlimited was another favourite. The sense of open road, dodging traffic and extending one's garage with some joyous new motors kept me playing for quite a while, but to say Test Drive was a little rough around the edges is an understatement. Further racing games that have more than a passing similarity to this Forza are Codemasters' more rambunctious offerings such as Dirt and Grid, with their over-the-top presentation and a high focus on the high-speed fun of mixed road racing. And of course there's been iterations of Dirt and Grid since as well that have improved on the formula, but it was interesting that time period when all these new racing games were starting to appear. So that's my little mini racing history and why Forza Horizon interests me so much at the time. I played Forza 4 at the time, a reasonable amount, but it's all a bit too serious for me. Accidentally glancing across another racer's car online was tantamount to keying their real car and received typically verbose messages. Enter Forza Horizon, a hybrid racer if you will, featuring aspects of design apparent in many of the games already mentioned while retaining the main Forza series sense of realism. Playground Games, the team who alternates between Turn 10's vision of the more realistic racer, and their racing games, they'd had less experience, but it feels a bit more like franchises like Burnout and Driver and Grid and Project Gotham. You know, more of those influences in relation to the Horizon series rather than the mainstay series. Forza has often been criticised for lacking personality with its all too serious tone, whereas Horizon's presentation offers a much more dynamic and fun racing environment. Much like Codemasters racing games at the time, Horizon is bright and bold with constant announcements and whizzing pop-ups. Some elements of this style work wonderfully well and provide a sense of excitement around the racing festival you're taking part in. As the new rookie driver on the scene, cliché alert, you must race your way through different festival stages, earning new coloured wristbands, ending in a golden band where you compete against the best AI racer in Darius Flint. Sounds like a action hero B-movie name. Car models are, as to be expected in a Forza game, bloody great, top-notch, as is the sound of those engines running at my tyres screeching. It's truly aesthetically authentic sound design, and a few of the selected music tracks are decent, although many of them are plain just irritating, so I would suggest playing your own music instead. Voice acting also leaves a lot to be desired, with repetitive nonsense spouted on the various radio stations and announcers lifted right from the likes of Dirt and Grid. Way too over the top. I'm sure players love this in-your-face style of audible presentation, but I'm afraid it just annoys the hell out of me, and I'll touch on the rivals' voice acting in a moment. The festival takes place in a replication of Colorado that has almost no pop-in or texture issues, showing Playground Games' technical achievements on hardware that's long past its best. Although not as large as Test Drive's sprawling Hawaiian island Oahu, Colorado is a beautiful landscape to race through, with a truly faithful interpretation of the environment by the developers. A night and day cycle is apparent, and the wealth of terrain to drive across is quite staggering and really makes full use of the range of car types on offer. Each stage of the festival has one central opponent in the form of a rival, and this is one of the weakest areas of the game. The rivals throughout the single player are far too stereotypical and generic, repeating the same few lines of dialogue after just a few races. They always start in first, and you always start in last, thus making most of the festival races simply a matter of catching up and overtaking said rival. This can become tedious to say the least, as a lack of in-game racing position variety, along with the grating dialogue, does nothing to motivate continued racing. What helps is the cash and cars received from those races. So coming first will often give you a pile of cash and you can push to a level up a little bit quicker. A very interesting mechanic is the leveling up slot machine. Literally the moment you level up, you can press a button and try to win masses of cash or any random car the game has to offer. Single player races, thankfully, don't end up with the tepid festival events as street races that pay out much larger sums of cash, as well as showcase events that can be entered. Street racing is point to point, and unlike the festival races, doesn't have the reused dialogue, but is still somewhat repetitive. The showcase events are a bit crazier and give the player more variety, with everything from racing against a blimp to a biplane. Vibration shakes the pad, thus road, when the plane flies overhead, which is a nice touch. There is also rival races, which driving behind a racer marked on the map will allow you to initiate various levels of difficulty in terms of the opposition. You can enter the speed traps and speed challenges by simply driving past them and with the immediate competition from your fellow real racers. This is also apparent in the festival races, with the option to compete against other rival racers' times straight after the event. This all adds to your popularity. Yep, even Forza players are vying for race fans' attention, it seems, and the higher your popularity, the more showcase events will be unlocked. It's not a bad single-player campaign, and the festival setting can be quite cool, but the repetitive nature of most races detracts while the online functionality improves the experience. Now, all the while you're competing in the single-player events, you'll be gathering cash and cars to the point where you should have a pretty good garage after a few changes of wristband. As in Forza 4, almost every car can be upgraded in the garage with aerodynamics, engine performance, handling, all tinkerable. Yes, I made a word, and I'm proud of it. Tinkerable. Use it. It's great. Maxing a car to the top of a certain class will obviously give you better options online, with the R3, S, A and B classes seemingly the most popular in multiplayer. The car designs remain and allow for clans to create team decals that can look awesome online when racing in a pack, while allowing saved Forza designs to be reused, which is a really nice little touch. The car club not only allows players to obviously hook up in a clan form, but also have a shared garage where cars can stack up for the team very quickly. This allows all players in a clan to select a plethora of cars for multiplayer, including those better suited for mixed surface or asphalt-based races. Considering this is a racing review, I should probably mention car handling before moving on to multiplayer. As stated previously, I'm more of an arcade racer, but have played Forza 4 many times and obviously since plenty of iterations of both franchises. The handling in Horizon does of course feel like its counterpart with realistic physics, but it does feel a little looser, which is no bad thing, and that includes with most assists turned off and manual gears turned on. The driving is certainly, from my perspective, more fun as you hurtle down highways, dodging traffic, or tear it up on what are essentially rally sections. The online multiplayer component, as with any racing game worth their asphalt, is the meat of the experience, and this is no exception in Horizon. Up to 8 racers compete in straight-up asphalt, mixed surface and point-to-point races where the levelling up and slot machine opportunities continue. I found this to be great fun with friends, and the stuffy don't you dare touch me ethos of Forza 4 and the rest of the mainland series doesn't really exist. Yes, you still gear up and gear down while braking at realistic moments, but a few crashes and spins simply liven up the racing. There are also a number of mini-games, such as Infected, where races, which I say loosely, start with one infected player who must crash into other players to spread the infection. This works well on a golf course track, as no apparent roads offer a more Destruction Derby-style arena, adding to the chaos. However, it doesn't quite feel right on a road-based track, so it depends what kind of track works with that mode. Other little touches in Horizon including knocking down discount signs spread across the world that accumulate when collected to provide a greater overall discount at a garage, as well as the number of roads on the island you have driven and the usual player stats apparent in most racing games. After some extensive playtime with Forza Horizon, I can attest to the game's pedigree and quality. It's essentially Test Drive Unlimited, designed by some of the luminaries in the racing game field, and it shows. Yes, the single player can be a bit repetitive, although there is a great deal of variety in race types. There aren't anywhere near as many cars as a traditional Forza game, and damage is only superficial. None of that really matters when you have a sublime world with a wealth of terrain, great handling, and an exceptional online racing setup. So if you want a slightly looser and more fun take on Forza, and with such an abundance of personality, it makes Lady Gaga look ashamed, then give it a go. I know it's the first of the series, and we've got so many since then, but I just thought this was a really interesting one to go back to, because it was just off the back of Project Gotham Racing, and in this new era of semi-realistic arcadey racer games, and obviously Forza Horizon has essentially become a leader in that particular subgenre of racing game. So hey, go back, check it out, give it a go, see where the whole Horizon thing started. Thank you so much for watching and listening. It is an absolute privilege to be able to make videos for you all, and in 2021 I intend to go at it. No more messing about. I'm going to crack on and do a bunch of stuff for you guys. Now, if there's anything you want me to do as a replayed review, any old game you think you'd like me to deconstruct and do a quick snap of, by all means, chuck those in the comments. And if you've got anything you would like me to try and do on the channel, game podcast, skits and sketches with random comedy voices, or breakdowns, or if you want me to bring back talking title screens, anything like that at all, any suggestions you've got, put them in the comments, because we want to build a community, right? We want to do stuff together and do stuff that you enjoy watching. I don't want to just do stuff for the sake of it. So if you want me to do certain things, chuck it in the comments. I'll have a gander and I will consider it. Now, if you liked the video, hit that like button. If you didn't like the video, hit that dislike button. And if you really want to support me, sub to the channel. Get involved, talk in the comments, really try and spread the word and get people involved in this lovely thing we call gaming. I'll also be covering TV series and TV episodes, films, all types of different media here and there, and we also have the Last Edit Film podcast over on my other channel. So go and check that out. That's with Silver and myself, and that's where we basically take an obscure, often film and just deep dive it and do a nice, lovely, long, in-depth podcast about that particular film. Now, don't forget, you can also follow me on Twitch, Citizen Sleeve over there, Citizen Sleeve over on Twitter, Facebook, and the Instagram, as it were. But I'm probably most active on Twitter. Thank you so much for watching again. It's all kinds of appreciated, especially in this brand new year where a lot of us are just beginning again. Take it easy. I will see you very soon.